tomorrow night. So, people don't even know who to chase at the moment as far as their PC teams. You have the players, but you don't have teams to chase right now. You don't know who's going to be where. Are the Timberwolves going to actually select LaMelo at 1, or are they going to trade out, or are they going to take Wiseman? What are they going to do with number 1? All I can say is that if they do make the selection at 1, it's going to make the Timberwolves in any break $300, $400, $500. Even if they are not a playoff contender, even if they absolutely suck, which tends to happen a lot with the Timberwolves, because let's just face it, they just don't perform like they should. So LaMelo in a Timberwolves jersey, I see. And here's the thing: when Lonzo declared eligible for the draft and LeVar just went ape shit, as LeVar does, which I gotta hand it to the guy. He's definitely reined it in quite a bit since then. Ball kind of got a target put on his back straight out the gate in the NBA, and I know a lot of players didn't take too kindly to LeVar's way of talking about his son. Yes, his son, very talented, and he loves his son. There's no question about it. But he put a bullseye on his kid's back. Lonzo just, and it was something. Somebody had to have sat down with LeVar and calmed him down, because he's been way better the last year. So, but I don't really know if I could see LaMelo getting drafted by the Timberwolves, because it's a small market team. And I don't think LeVar is okay with that. I think LeVar wants the limelight. He wants his kids. He wants that big baller brand. He wants the glory. And, Lonzo getting traded to the Pelicans, I don't think was in his, I don't think was something he was comfortable with. But I also think getting Lonzo out of LA after the absolute mess that LeVar created for him was a good thing. And I think Lonzo could be very good, and LaMelo could. Apparently, Melo's supposed to be better. We'll see how it goes, but I don't know if Minnesota. I don't know if that's going to be a LeVar agreed upon thing to have happen. There could be a trade that happens later on. Who knows? But we'll get some of the comments real quick. McDaniels, yeah, he's going to be good. Isaiah Stewart going to be solid. Absolutely. The UW guys, yes. Yep. Yeah. So it'll definitely. I think once the draft happens tomorrow night, we're going to see a run on the collegiate basketball cards, because everybody's going to be going out and getting their new PC guys that are now on the teams that they cheer for. But just like every other year with Prism Draft, it's going to tank, or any draft product. It does not hold value. Once the NBA licensed stuff comes out with the rookies in their NBA uniforms, gone. Now, some of it could. I recently sold. Actually, I sold a Zion Prism Draft Pink Pulsar Gem 10. I think it was Gem 10 for like $170 in like June. So I mean, it can, with the right stuff and grading it helps. But I mean, it's nowhere near if I had a Pink Pulsar Prism NBA Prism in a Gem 10. That's $1,000, $2,000. So big difference. Okay, so we got a few more people on. Going to get back into real quick what we got going on tonight after our sports chat tonight. First things first, we're going to rip Illusions football. Thank you, Collectors Corner Northwest and Bellevue, for supplying our Illusions football box. we are going to rip 2 blasters of WNBA Prism Fanatics Edition, which have, look for the green ice parallels exclusive to the Fanatics Prisms. And then today I found 2 blasters of Absolute Football, which I have not opened up any retail Absolute yet, so we're kaboom hunting tonight. And then we are going to give away at least 1 box. I have 8 total of these boxes. The Seattle Children's Heroes. I'm going to be giving away a couple of these. And then we also have our 300 subscriber prize coming up, which I'll be giving away another one of these. So I have 8 total to give away over the next few weeks, including 1 for the 300 subscriber mark, our target. So, and I'm going to give away at least 1 card out of every product tonight. The Seattle Children's are going to be, you get the full box. I'm not opening it. I'm shipping whoever the winners are. I'm shipping them a full box, sealed. And then I'm going to give away cards out of Absolute, Prism, WNBA Prism, sorry, and Illusions Football. So we're going to give away. I'm going to probably, before we open the football, the Absolute Football, I'm going to come up with something to give away if we pull a kaboom. A bonus. So I will point this out with the Seattle Children's Hospital cards. So these are the autos in case you haven't really seen them, and it's really tough to see. So Detlef Shrimp. It's a 25 card base set if you haven't seen these yet. Detlef Shrimp, and these are on card autos. Kyle Seager. And Ken Griffey Jr. I've opened up a couple boxes myself. They're fantastic. And so this is what they are. You get the entire set of 25 base cards. Okay? In every box. In every one of these, you get the 25 card base set, and you get 1 auto. And the auto is 1 of the 25 base cards. So, as you see there, Ken Griffey Jr. is in this, Macklemore, Russell Wilson, Sierra, Alicia Clark, Dan Wilson, Jewel Lloyd, Lenny Wilkins, Detlef Shrimp, Cliff Averill, Edgar Martinez, Stephen Free, Jordan Morris, Jamal Crawford, Kyle Seager, Spencer Hawes, Mitch Haniger, Joel McHale, Apollo Ono, Gary Payton, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Charlie Furbush, Caleb McKenna Schwab, and Olivia Vitello. Now, those last 3 names you are not going to recognize, and the reason is those are kids from the Seattle Children's Hospital. They each have a base card, and they each have an auto. And these are the 3 base cards of the 3 bright young faces that are in this set. Fantastic stories behind them. They are on the back of the card as well, little story. Fantastic. And it's funny you mention Caleb, because I just so happen to have Caleb's auto. So a lot of cool stuff. It's truly a fantastic set. And a couple people asked online. No, they are not licensed by MLB, NFL, NBA at all. So you're not going to see the names of the teams. It just says Seattle. So as you see with the Griffey, there's no Mariners logo. As you see with Russell Wilson, it is not Seahawks anything. As you see with Alicia Clark, there's no Storm anything. And even with the Cliff Averill, which he's in his uniform, they pulled the Seahawks logos off of it. Sounders, nothing. So it's not licensed, and the point behind it has nothing to do with licensing. And I'm gonna try on my show, which actually, you know what, he's gonna be on Go GTS Live on Thursday, I believe. The creator of this set, who works for Children's Hospital, where did his name go? Jake Gustafson. worked with Tops on this, and fantastic job they did with this. All proceeds go to Seattle Children's Hospitals. So if you see them, if you're in the Washington area and you stop at Bartell's Drugs, which these are exclusive to Bartell Drugs, you cannot buy these at any other store. They are exclusive to Bartell. If I can get that too. There we go. They're exclusive to Bartell Drugs. So if you are in Washington and you have a Bartell Drug local, stop by, pick up one of these. 100% of the proceeds go to Seattle Children's. They're $25 a box plus tax. That's the least we can do to support Seattle Children's, and I hope that they continue to bring money in. Talking to a couple of guys who, one in particular, if you follow him on Twitter, Rain City Cards, he has bought over $3,000 worth of, actually I think he said 5,300 boxes of these to distribute throughout the country at cost. Fantastic job. That's the type of stuff I love to see. So all that money is going to Seattle Children's, and a fantastic cause, and I think we should all support it. So we're going to give away a couple of those tonight. All right, so we're going to get into our topics. Our topics for tonight. So we're going to start off with a little bit of NBA talk. Not a whole lot, because this isn't really an NBA show. This is more an NFL show. We're sports in general, but I do like to cover a little bit of everything. A couple of NBA updates that happened. So that they went live with trades yesterday. And first thing that got announced, Dennis Schroeder being traded over to the Lakers from the Thunder. Good trade for the Lakers. It's going to improve the team. So you're going to see Dennis Schroeder making a difference there as well. Potential that the Lakers could be on a title run again next year. Still going to have LeBron. Looks like they're going to keep a good core of their guys. The other big move was Chris Paul to the Suns. And it almost seems as if the Thunder are gearing up for a rebuild and potentially building around SGA, which, hard to argue, he's talent. But Chris Paul to the Suns, paired with Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, could be a deep playoff run for the Suns, something that they direly need as a franchise. They have not had a deep playoff run, and I can't even count how many years. So that's going to be huge for the Suns. They're going to be a title contender this year, absolutely. Now, will they be able to compete with the Lakers in a 7-game series? We don't know yet. We'll see. I do believe that Chris Paul brings an element to that team that they haven't had in a long time, and I think they can hold their own against the Lakers for at least 3 games. We'll see if they can do it for 7. One of the other big newsmakers, headlines that happened yesterday, was Anthony Davis declining his $28.7 million option to become an unrestricted free agent. There's been a lot of speculation that he is chasing a max contract from the Lakers and that he's going nowhere. But then in an interview yesterday, when somebody mentioned to him about being a Laker, he corrected them and said, "I'm not on a team right now." So, was that him being funny? Because he does like to joke around, and he's a very competitive player, and he does not back down from a challenge. Anthony Davis, in my mind, is one of the best big men in basketball right now, who can move like a small forward and power like a full-on center. I don't know. I haven't read too much into it. But with the news that the Nets are potentially going to be trading for James Harden, which would load them, Kyrie, KD coming back, and Harden, would that mean that Anthony Davis's competitiveness would push him to jump back to the East to try to compete against that and take them down, because you put James Harden with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, you got to think that they're a favorite in the East for the finals. Um, the Celtics are good, but they can't compete with that. That's another super team. So what in the East could compete? Yes, the Raptors are good. Yes, the Heat are good. But can they compete? Kevin Durant is one of the best players in the NBA when he's healthy. Kyrie is one of the best second men in the NBA when he's healthy. Now you just added James Harden, who's a multi. Wasn't he like a two-time MVP, or was it one time? Either way, he's a former NBA MVP, and I don't always like his style of play or his ego, but he's talented. And so you put, even just putting Durant with him, with Harden again, and that was a team that was in the semifinals when they were together. So I'm curious if Anthony Davis is seeing a loaded East and thinking that he might want to go back to the East to compete against that, because the Bucks are gearing up, the Nets are gearing up. That's good competition, and you already have the Heat, who have been fantastic. You already have the Raptors that have been fantastic. The Celtics are competitive. So, but is Anthony Davis just playing around with everybody so he can chase a max contract? Because Giannis. That's exactly what Giannis is doing. Giannis is going to sign a max with the Bucks. The Bucks are going all in. They're already making moves. Drew Holiday to the Bucks was a fantastic move, in my opinion. Drew Holiday and Giannis is going to be. That's a duo right there. Drew Holiday is underrated, beyond underrated. So I can see the Bucks making a good run. That would be who I think could be really the only team to contend with the Nets, with if the Nets get James Harden. So anyway, that was my little bit of the NBA talk for tonight. We'll see what happens with the draft tomorrow night, and then some moves that happen over the next few weeks in the NBA. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more NBA next week as we get some clarity. Maybe we'll know what's going on with Anthony Davis by then. Maybe we'll know what happens with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, because they both want out of Houston. They both made it clear they're both going somewhere. Russell Westbrook probably going to end up with the Knicks. Oh. Yeah, and Bogdanovich was the other one that went to the Bucks. Bucks are going to be tough this year. They really are. The question's really going to boil down to, can they get past the Nets? And then, yes, I'd heard a rumor about Kemba Walker potentially going to the Bulls as well. I have not heard any substantiation to that yet, so I don't know. I can't say whether or not that looks like it's going to happen, but I did hear that rumor as well. We'll see. The trade free agency just opened up, so we'll see where the trade availability just opened up. So we'll see what actually happens. All I know is that in a month and a half we got basketball. We got NBA starting again. So gear up, get your cards ready to sell, because shit's just going to go. Yeah, Taylor, the Heat are a good team and healthy, yes. I don't know if they can deal with the star power of a loaded Bucks team or a loaded Nets team. You saw how they struggled against the Lakers in the finals, and that was, really when you look at it, if you're talking the Nets with James Harden, or adding James Harden, I should say, that's an even more star-studded team than the Lakers, because then you're talking not only Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, but then you got Jared Allen as well. So, and Jared Allen is in my opinion, an underrated big man as well. So I don't know if the Heat would be able to keep up with such a versatile scoring team, especially with Kevin Durant. Period. Kevin Durant, in my opinion, Kevin Durant is top 2, top 3 player overall in the NBA. when he's healthy, obviously. So, okay, moving over to football, because that's what we're here for. Don't hate me for this, Seahawk fans, but we're going to talk a little bit about the collapsing Seahawks. Currently now sitting 6-3, third place in the NFC West. They have faltered the last few weeks against good competition and against okay competition. And I don't want to say the Rams are bad, but the Rams aren't the best team in the NFL. The Bills aren't the best team in the NFL. And they struggled with both. Now, some of this has to do with the defense, and some of this has to do with the offense. And I'm going to cover the offense first because there's been a glaring issue for the last 3 weeks. 4 weeks, I should say. 3 of the last 4 weeks. And everybody was all high on Russell Wilson being getting MVP votes this year, and let Russ cook. The whole wave, everybody thought Russell Wilson was a shoo-in for MVP this year. And he started off fantastic, don't get me wrong. And I fully support Russell Wilson for MVP. But the last 4 weeks, 3 of those weeks, we have seen a different Russell Wilson. In the last 4 games, Russell Wilson has thrown for 1,287 passing yards, 322 per game on average. Now, part of that reason has also been because they're playing from behind. They have also had virtually no run game at all. They're down to their 5th string, 4th string, whatever running back. They just can't seem to, A, keep a running back healthy, but B, they can't seem to get any semblance of coordination with the run game. Now, does some of that have to do with the offensive line? Absolutely. It's no secret that Seattle does not have a top-tier offensive line. They haven't for years. And that has been one thing that a lot of fans and a lot of non-fans have said that's one thing holding Russell Wilson back. A lot of you guys can go back and think for the last number of years, watching the first 6 games of the season, Russell Wilson just getting obliterated. Absolutely obliterated. Not by his own fault, but because that offensive line was so bad at pass protection that he just got destroyed. I can recall multiple games where I watched him take hits and he limped off the field, dragging his damn near bloodied body. And he had to put warrior face on to go back out there to will his team to victory. The offensive line has been a problem. Russell Wilson has been one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the NFL this year. Again, pass protection becoming a problem. Run blocking has become a problem. They can't seem to keep a running back on the field, and they can't get any kind of consistency with the run game, which then relies on Russell Wilson to win games and throw the ball 40 times a game. Continuing on with the Russell Wilson over the last 4 games, he's thrown 9 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. He's also had 3 fumbles lost. He's only had 172 rush yards at 43 yards per game average and 1 rush touchdown. And he's been sacked 15 times in the last 4 games. Of those last 4 games, the one good game he had is where you see a majority of those positive stats. Now, I don't want to say that Russell Wilson's bad at all. He's fan-frickin-tastic, and he's the reason the Seahawks are 6-3, because we'll get into this in a second. Their defense is a frickin' dumpster fire. My concern is that Russell Wilson is not Russell Wilson anymore, because this issue they've had has now gotten to him. Russell Wilson's always been one of the most positive people on the field, off the field, in the locker room. And from what I've seen over the last 4 weeks, that's not happening anymore. He is not the hoorah cheerleader that he's been before. And I think what's going on with the team is weighing on him severely. And I hope they figure it out. Because I'm not a Seahawk fan. You guys know that. But I don't like to see the Seahawks not be competitive. I prefer them to be a very good team because I do enjoy the back and forth with my buddies who are diehard Seahawk fans. I do like to be able to, rub their nose in when they're 10-3 and they lose to the Cardinals or the Rams, something like that. When they're this dominant team, but then lose to their division rival, I like to be able to jab that. But when they're struggling as much as they are, when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, who's as good as he is, and you start to think that he's not doing what he does because it's weighing on him, it's frustrating and it's sad to see for a non-Seahawk fan as well. Because I'll be honest, the first 6 games of the season, I was on the Russell Wilson bandwagon for MVP. The guy was balling. And the last few weeks, he's made some bad decisions. Sure, a lot of quarterbacks do. I'm hoping it's just a bad stretch, a rough patch. But something that got brought up today on the Pat McAfee show that I watched this morning kind of triggered a thought that I had. A caller, I think it was a caller that called in that said, no, sorry, it was they were talking about Peyton and Eli's brother that was doing the skit with DK Metcalf this last week, where after everything he said to DK, go Hawks, go Hawks, go Hawks. And everybody that's a Seahawk fan, anybody that watches football, knows that Russell Wilson at the end of every interview ends it with, go Hawks. And I am thinking back over the last several weeks, and I don't remember seeing that at all. I don't think I've heard Russell Wilson go Hawks in a month or more. So again, my concern is that he's got the team on his back and it's affecting him negatively. And I'm hoping that's not the case, or that they fix that, because I'd like to see Russ go back to cooking, because the NFL is interesting when Russ is cooking. I don't care if you're a fan or not. The NFL is a better place when Russell Wilson cooks. Simple as that. So hopefully they can get that figured out so he can begin to move forward again. So continuing on with the Seahawks, in the last 4 weeks, the defense, so they're 1-3 as a team, sorry. The defense has allowed 131 points over the last 4 weeks. 32.75 points per game. That is not a Seahawk defense. They've only had 13 sacks, 28.5 tackles for loss, 23 quarterback hits, only 8 passes defensed in 4 games, only 2 interceptions, and 3 fumble recoveries. So 5 turnovers, okay? For a Seahawk defense that you guys are familiar with and you guys know that is not Seahawk defense football. That is not. And a lot of people are saying, well, injuries. Well, you guys just got Carlos Dunlap from Cincinnati, and he's a stud. I'm well aware who Carlos Dunlap is. I'm a Steelers fan. Jamal Adams is back, even though somebody was telling me today he appears to still be favoring his shoulder like he might still be hurt. That could be the case. Or he's just favoring it because he was hurt, and a lot of times with an athlete, when they come back from a major injury, or any injury for that matter, they tend to favor where the injury was, because it's also a psychological thing. But I've seen a lot of Seahawk fans calling for Ken Norton's head. And I watched the Bills game. And I watched a lot of the replay of the Rams game. And you cannot, with the core group of guys in the secondary, you cannot play off the receivers like that. This is not the Legion of Boom. This is not Earl Thomas. This is not Richard Sherman. These guys are not that. This is not Cam Chancellor. These guys do not play the same way. They don't jar the ball loose on their hits. They're not a smash mouth in your face team that can lay a smackdown hit. I mean, and we're talking a brutalizing, punishing hit like you guys are used to seeing with the Legion, a boom. This defense doesn't do that. And you can't play off the ball when you're not hitting people. And you're not making tackles. And you're not forcing fumbles on the receivers. And you don't have a ball hawking secondary. And Ken Norton is scheming the defense like he still has Earl Thomas, like he still has Richard Sherman, like he still has Cam Chancellor, like he still has the Legion of Boom. And in my opinion, he's got to change his schemes, or this season is not going to go anywhere close to finishing how they want to finish. Because when you're Seahawk football, anything less than the NFC Championship game is a failed season. Now, that is the mode, that is the persona, that is the influence of the last 10 years of Seahawk football. And they need to get that back. If they don't, you might as well start looking at next season, because they've got to change that. COVID coverage. All right, so away from Seahawk football, and we're going to jump over to the Bear meltdown from last night. The Bear down meltdown. So if any of you guys watched the Monday Night Football game last night, Bears lost to the Vikings last night, 19-13 on Monday Night Football. That was not pretty to watch. The Bears' defense is good. There's no doubt about it. There's a reason the Bears have 5 wins, and it's because of that defense. It is not because of their offense. Their offense was so bad last night that anytime they touched the ball, I stopped paying attention because I knew it was going to turn right back over to the Vikings shortly thereafter. I'd blink, and all of a sudden Dalvin Cook's running the ball again. Now, Minnesota didn't exactly put on a thrill ride of a show either, but against the Chicago defense, I didn't expect them to. Nobody expected them to. Adam Thielen had a great night. Justin Jefferson had a buttload of yards because that's what Justin Jefferson does. And Dalvin Cook was held to under 100 yards because that's what the Bears defense does. They shut down the running game. But when you think about Nick Foles, okay, I want you to think back. Mitch Trubisky started this season, and he was pulled in Game 3 against the Falcons when the Bears were down, okay? And Nick Foles came in and got the team riled up, and spurred them to a comeback victory over the Atlanta Falcons. 4th quarter victory, right? We all remember the game because we all watched it. Nick Foles last night played worse than Mitch Trubisky. And if anybody thinks that Nick Foles is better than Mitch Trubisky, they haven't been watching the Bears since Nick Foles took over. Nick Foles last night was 15 of 26 for 106 yards with 1 interception. 0 touchdowns. Okay? He was just over 50% passing. 106 yards. Think about that. Russell Wilson has had games where he's thrown 5 passes and been over 100 yards. And it took Nick Foles 15 completions, I should say. 26 passes. 26 attempts. He was so bad last night. And when he got hurt, now I feel bad for Nick Foles getting hurt. I don't like seeing guys get hurt. But then his backup came in and only threw for like 15 yards. The offense is so bad in Chicago. Nagy's gotta figure something out because his play calling is atrocious. They ran for only 41 yards last night. A Bears team, okay? 106 passing yards for Nick Foles, and it was like 15 passing yards for the guy that came in after him, and then 41 passing yards. They had less than 175 yards of offense. That is ridiculous. Against a Vikings defense that was bleeding yards for half of the season this year. I mean, They had multiple games where they gave up 500 yards of offense. And Chicago just meltdown. Absolute meltdown. Here's a couple of facts for you with Chicago. Chicago's offense has not scored 23 points in a game since week 3 against the Falcons in that comeback victory where they won 30-26. It is now week 10. We just finished week 10. They have not scored more than 23 points since week 3. 7 games. 7 weeks, I should say. It's not 7 games. 7 weeks. That's not going to get the job done. You can have a lights-out defense, but if you can't put points on the board, you are not going to win. And you guys know me. I'm a defense-minded guy. I love my defense. I'm AFC North football. Smash mouth. Steelers, baby. Smash mouth football. But you got to put points on the board. There has to be some balance. Yeah, your defense balls. Abso-freaking-lutely. But 23 points at your best, it ain't going to get the job done. It's not going to get the job done. Remaining schedule for the Bears is not pretty. They're in a fairly tough division. They just got beat by the Vikings, who are now back in playoff hunt. They play the Packers at Lambeau this week. Yeah. That's got to suck. Packers are balling. Not a good look. Lions can put points up. Their defense is bipolar, but man, they can put points up when they want to play. Now, granted, Matt Patricia is Matt Patricia, and you never know what Lions team you're going to get, but that's still a divisional game. Matt Patricia might put the old pencil in the air, and they could throw for 800 yards. Never know. Look what Kirk Cousins did to him last night. Kirk Cousins put up 300-plus pass yards on that Bears defense. 300 pass yards. Yeah, sure, they ran the ball for only 90 yards with one of the best running backs in the NFL, but Kirk Cousins was delivering. He was dropping passes where they needed to go. Justin Jefferson made that secondary look bad. And Detroit's no slouch at receiver. They've got some good talent at receiver, and they've got some very versatile running backs. Between DeAndre Swift, Adrian Peterson, the ageless wonder, and he knows Chicago very well. Then they got to play the Texans. Okay, so they've at least got one win. Okay, but then they've got to go to Minnesota again. They have to play Minnesota in Minnesota. So now they have to travel to Minnesota as well on a team that just lit them up as far as the yardage and that they couldn't score on. Then they got to play the Jaguars. Is it going to be Minshew Magic or is it the Luton show? Who knows? But Luton didn't look bad this last weekend. He was just playing the Packers. You know, Minshew can throw the ball. They've got good receivers. And if that's the Bears' defense is going to allow 300 yards to Kirk Cousins, why not 300 yards to Jake Luton? And then they got to finish the season playing the Packers at home. A Packers team that's going to be fighting for the number 1 seed. A Packers team that wants to go 6-0 in the division and has something to prove. It ain't looking good for the Bears. The Bears are now 5-5. Since that comeback win against the Falcons, they've only got 2 wins. They've been 2-5 since week 3, after starting 3-0 and benching Mitch Trubisky. You want to win, put Trubisky back in. Is he the best quarterback in the NFL? No. Is he the best quarterback on the roster? He is. I don't care about the haters. I don't care about all the people who, well, they traded up for him. They traded 1 spot. Come on. Mitch Trubisky's not a bad quarterback. He's not. He had pretty dang good stats going into Game 3, and even after he got pulled. He didn't have bad stats. He wasn't turning the ball over 5 times a game. He was throwing for 250 plus and going 2 touchdowns. Yeah, you have a bad interception here and there, but Foles hasn't done anything better. Maybe it's time the Bears go back to Trubisky. Help wrap the season up. Put them back into playoff contention. It's the only way I see them winning. I do not see them winning with Foles. The whole Foles narrative of he can win a Super Bowl, he had a lot of momentum going with him. He came in as the quarterback that nobody expected him to win, and he finished a good season that Wentz had already started and led the Eagles to a Super Bowl, and he balled out in a Super Bowl. Yeah, fantastic. That's great. What's he done since? He couldn't take the starting job away from Gardner Minshew in Jacksonville after signing a contract down there. And he couldn't beat out Mitch Trubisky to start this season. And he has not outplayed Mitch Trubisky since he started. So, sorry. Nick Foles is not the answer in Chicago. I do believe Mitch Trubisky is. Let him grow.